The general prologue to the Canterbury Tales. The general prologue is the first part of Chaucer's The Canterbury Tales. It is a basic descriptive list of the 29 people who become pilgrims to journey to Canterbury. Who are the celestial characters in the prologue? They are the prioress, the monk, the friar, the clerk, the person, and the summoner. What did Chanticleer dream? Chanticleer dreamed that an animal looking like a dog was trying to seize him and put him to death. What is Trialis and Crescit called the first novel in English? Trialis and Crescit is a representation of life through a story. There are plots, characters, actions, and climax in the writing. Why did the pilgrims went to the Canterbury? They are going to Canterbury to receive the blessings of Saint Thomas a Becket, the English martyr. How many pet animals did the widow have? The widow had 3 large female pigs, 3 cows, and 1 sheep. Who is Madame Pertelot? Madame Pertelot was the name of a hen. Chanticleer loved her intensely. What happened to Crescit at the inn? Though Troilus loved her, she deserted him and surrendered herself to Diomed. What is meant by the double sorrow of Troilus? Troilus suffered twice for the love of Crescit. First to win her love and secondly after her departure from Troy when she forsook him. Who is Pandarus? Pandarus is the close friend of Troilus and the uncle of Troilus. How did Chanticleer look? His comb is redder than fine coral, his bill is black and it shines like jet. His legs and toes are sky blue, his nails are whiter than the lily, and the color of Chanticleer is like burnished gold. How is the physician in the general prologue to the Canterbury Tales? He was a medical practitioner who knew the movement of the planets and had studied all the great theories of disease and medicine. What, according to Chaucer, Andromache dreamt? According to Chanticleer, Andromache dreamt that her husband would lose his life if he went to the battlefield that day. Why does the poet call Troilus and Crescit a awful verse? Because the poem is a tragic story of Troilus' endless sufferings in love. What is meant by the double sorrow of Troilus? Troilus suffered twice for the love of Crescit. First to win her love and secondly after her departure from Troy, when she forsook him. What is the attitude of Troilus to woman or love? Troilus scoffs at the lovers and feels satisfied that he has no love for woman. How does Crescit go to the Palladium? Crescit goes to the Palladium in a widow's black clothes in which she appears to be matchless in beauty. How did the fox flatter Chanticleer? The fox flattered Chanticleer by saying that he had as merry a voice as any angel had and he had more feelings for music than Boethius had or anyone who could sing. How does the prologue start? The prologue starts by singing the praise of the month of April. How did Chanticleer pay tribute to Partelot? Chanticleer paid tribute to Partelot by saying that he was fortunate in having her as his wife and she was a source of joy and bliss to him. What is the Canterbury Tales? The Canterbury Tales is a collection of stories strung around the central idea of a pilgrim from London to the shrine of Saint Thomas, a Becket at Canterbury. What does Saint Paul say? Saint Paul says, all that is written for our benefit, certainly. What moral lesson does Sir Russell utter? Sir Russell, the fox, utters the following moral lessons. God sends bad luck to those who is so undiscerning and as not to exercise self-control and talk idly when he should hold his peace. What were the 3 main phases of Chaucer's poetic career? Chaucer's literary career is divided into 3 phases, namely Italian, French, and English. Who is Troilus? Troilus, the hero of the poem. Troilus and Crescit is the son of Priam, king of Troy and the great warrior next to Hector. What is the name of the friar? The friar's name was Hubert. Why did people travel to Canterbury? People traveled to Canterbury in order to visit the shrine of the holy blessed martyr Sir Thomas Becket, who helped them to recover when they fell ill. What does the Black Sea symbolize? The tumultuous despair which Troilus experienced in his love for Crescit symbolizes as the Black Sea. Who was Andromache? Andromache was a mythical character whom we came across in Homer's Iliad. She was the wife of Trojan prince Hector. Who is the owner of the Tabard Inn? Harry Bailey is the owner of the Tabard Inn. What is a beast fable? The beast fable, usually a short story or poem in which animals talk, is a traditional form of allegorical writing. How many pet animals did the widow have? The widow had 3 large female pigs, 3 cows, and 1 sheep. What is courtly love? Courtly love is a late medieval code of love. This love described the highly conventionalized behavior and emotion of aristocratic ladies and their lovers. What is the function of the summoner? The function of a summoner called offenders before the judge. Called offenders before the judge. What is a mock heroic poem? A mock heroic poem is a form of satire which is written in the style of an epic but deals with a trivial subject. Who was Nero? Nero was a Roman emperor. He was notorious for brutality and tyranny. To which century does Chaucer belong? Chaucer belongs to the 14th century. What was the monk's horse like? The monk's horse was as brown as berry. It was in an excellent condition. What is a beast fable? The beast fable, usually a short story or poem in which animals talk, in a traditional form of allegorical writing. Who is the owner of the Tavern Inn? Harry Bailey is the owner of the Tavern Inn. How many pet animals did the widow have? The widow had 3 large female pigs, 3 cows, and 1 sheep. Who is Chanticleer? Chanticleer is name of the heroic rooster of the nun's priest tale. He is the most handsome cock in the barnyard. What is a mock heroic poem? Mock heroic poem is a kind of poem which is the stylistic imitation of heroic poem but deals with a trivial subject, especially in satirical tone. What is a pilgrimage? A pilgrimage is a religious journey undertaken for penance and grace. Why does Chaucer praise April? Chaucer praises April as it is the month of rebirth and renewal. What was Troy? Troy, a city-state of the ancient age, stood on the shore of the Aegean Sea in the northwest of the modern Turkey. How was the knight dressed? The knight is dressed in a fustian tunic which is stained by the rust from his coat of chainmail. Why is Chaucer regarded as a realistic poet? Because it was Chaucer who for the first time brought man and woman of flesh and blood in the arena of literature. How many pilgrims are there in the prologue? 29 pilgrims are described in the prologue to the Canterbury Trails, and Chaucer himself was the 13th pilgrim. What was the name of the nun's priest? The prioress was known as Madame Eglantine. Madame Eglantine. What does amor vincit omnia mean? Love wins all. How many times did the wife of Bath get married? The wife of Bath married 5 times. How did Chanticleer escape? Chanticleer advises the fox to insult the pursuers by telling them that their efforts are in vain. The fox likes the idea. When he opens his mouth to insult the pursuers, Chanticleer flies away and takes shelter on the top of a tree. What medicine did Dame Partelot suggest for Chanticleer? She asks him to take some laxatives to get rid of his nightmare. As there is no pharmacy in the town, she suggests herbal remedies for him. She requests him to eat some earthworms to remove his collar and to eat some herbal lore such as laurel, centaury, fumitory, hellebore, catabaus, berries, etc. Who is Venus? Venus is the Roman goddess of love. Is Aphrodite in Greek mythology. How many hands did Chanticleer have? Chanticleer had 7 hands in his charge. What sort of book is Pandria seen reading? Pandarus is reading an old romance. Who is Hector? Hector is the eldest son of Priam and commander-in-chief of the Trojan army. He is famous for his nobleness and bravery. How did the fox flatter Chanticleer? The fox flattered Chanticleer by saying that he had as merry a voice as any angel had, and he had more feelings for music than Boethius had or anyone who could sing. What is the name of the prioress? The prioress was known as Madame Eglantine. What type of the work is the nun's priest tale? The nun's priest's tale is a beast fable. What was the original name of the Colfax? The name of the Colfax was Sir Russell. Who was Troilus? Troilus was the youngest son of King Priam and wooer of Crisate. What is the name of the prioress? The prioress was known as Madame Eglantine. How many battles did the knight fight? The knight fought 15 mortal battles. How was the bill of Chanticleer? Chanticleer's bill was black and it shone like jet. Who told the Canterbury Tales? The pilgrims told the Canterbury Tales. Why is the prologue called the mini parliament? Why did the Greeks attack Troy? The Greeks attacked Troy to avenge the ravishment of Helen done by Paris. What do you know about Cupid? Cupid is the god of desire, erotic love, attraction and affection. When did the Canterbury Tales probably begin? Chaucer began to write the Canterbury Tales in the year 1386. What is the source of Chaucer's The Nun's Prelest Tale? The source of the poem is an incident in the Reynard cycle. Reynard cycle. How many pilgrims are described in the prologue to the Canterbury Tales? 29 pilgrims are described in the prologue to the Canterbury Tales, and Chaucer himself was the 13th pilgrim. Who are the ecclesiastical characters in the prologue? They are the prioress, the monk, the friar, the clerk, the person, and the summoner. What type of man was the host in the prologue to the Canterbury Tales? The host was bold of speech, sensible, and well educated. He had a jovial temper. According to Chaucer, the host did not lack in any quality of real manhood. What is the meaning of the name Chanticleer? The meaning of the name is to sing loud. Who was Madame Partilot? Madame Partilot was the name of a hen. Chanticleer loved her intensely. Who is the nun's priest? From the prologue to the Canterbury Tales, we come to know that 3 priests accompanied the prioress. The nun's priest is one of these priests. What moral lesson do you find in the nun's priest's tale? The moral of the poem is that one should not trust a flatterer. Whom does Chaucer invoke in Troilus and Cressida? At the beginning of Troilus and Cressida, Chaucer invokes Tisiphon, who was Clauchus. Clauchus was a divine of Apollo and father of Cressida. He left Troy secretly knowing from Apollo that Troy would be burnt, leaving Cressida adrift. What is the source of Chaucer's Troilus and Cressida? Il Philostrato is the source of Geoffrey Chaucer's Troilus and Cressida. Why is Canterbury famous? Canterbury is famous for the shrine of the holy blessed martyr who helped them to recover when they fell ill. What is a mock heroic poem? Mock heroic poem is a kind of poem which is the stylistic imitation of heroic poem but deals with a trivial subject, especially in a satirical tone. What was Partelot's advice to her husband? She asked him to take some laxatives to get rid of his nightmare. As there is no pharmacy in the town, she suggests herbal remedies for him. She requests him to eat some earthworms to remove his choler and to eat some herbal lore such as laurel, sanctuary, fumitory, hellebore, catapause, berries, etc. What is the name of the fox in the nun's priest tale? Russell. Who is Cressida? Cressida is the heroine of the poem Troilus and Cressida. Is the daughter of Calchas, a great divine who left her in Troy when he secretly left the Beleaguered city. Why is Cupid angry with Troilus? Cupid is angry with Troilus for his disgust for lovers. Who is Cassandra? Cassandra is a prophetess. She is the sister of Troilus. How does Troilus die? Troilus was killed by Achilles in the Trojan War. Who is the owner of Troubled Inn? The owner of the Troubled Inn is the host, Harry Bailey. Why did the pilgrims assemble? The pilgrims assembled at Troubled Inn, which is situated in Southwark. Where did Chanticleer dream? Chanticleer dreamed that an animal looking like a dog was trying to seize him and put him to death. What is the job of a reeve? A reeve was attached to a manor to supervise the produce, and to keep the accounts. Why did Chaucer praise April? The poet praises the month of April because in this month rain and warm western wind restore life and fertility to the earth and its inhabitants. Why did people travel to Canterbury? People traveled to Canterbury in order to visit the shrine of the holy blessed martyr, Saint Thomas Becket, who helped them to recover when they fell ill. What is the job of a reeve? A reeve was attached to a manor to supervise the produce and to keep the accounts. Which incident is the nun's priest tale based on? The nun's priest's tale is based on the familiar incidents of the cock who was seized by a fox and who made his escape by inducing his captor to open his mouth in speech. Who is the owner of the Tabard Inn? Harry Bailey is the owner of Tabard Inn. Name some of the great personalities referred to in prologue to the Canterbury Tales. The knight, the squire, the prioress, the monk, the sergeant of law, etc. What is meant by the double sorrow of Troilus? Troilus suffered twice for the love of Cressida. First to win her love and secondly after her departure from Troy when she forsook him. How many pilgrims are described in the general prologue? 29 pilgrims are described in the prologue to the Canterbury Tales and Chaucer himself was the 13th pilgrim. What moral lessons does Sir Russell utter? Sir Russell, the fox, utters the following moral lesson. God sends bad luck to those who is so undiscerning as not to exercise self-control and talk idly when he should hold his peace. What did Cressida dream in her last dream at night? Cressida dreamed at night that an eagle with his long claws took away her heart from her breast and put Troilus' heart in the gap, but she did not feel any pain nor was hurt at all in this heart transplantation. What other pet animals did the widow have? The widow had 3 large female pigs, 3 cows and 1 sheep. What is the function of a yeoman? A yeoman was an attendant in a noble household. In military context, yeoman was the runt of third order of fighting, man below knights and squires. What is the Canterbury Tales? The Canterbury Tales is a collection of stories strung around the central idea of a pilgrimage from London to the shrine of St. Thomas a Becket at Canterbury. What is a pilgrimage? A pilgrimage is a religious journey undertaken for penance and grace. How many pilgrims are described in Canterbury Tales? 29 pilgrims are described in the prologue to the Canterbury Tales, and Chaucer himself was the 13th pilgrim. How many battles did the knight fight? The knight fought 15 mortal battles. Why does Chaucer praise April? Chaucer praises April as it is the month of rebirth and renewal. Who told the nun's priest to tell a story? The host, whose name was Harry Bailey, asked the nun's priest to tell a story. He called the priest Sir John. Where did the widow live? The widow lived in a narrow cottage by the side of a grove of trees which stood in a valley. How was Chanticleer's bill? Chanticleer's bill was black and it shone like jet. Who was Madame Partelote? Madame Partelote was the name of a hen. Chanticleer loved her intensely. Why were the Greeks attacking Troy? The Greeks were attacking the city Troy for the stealing of Helen by Paris. How does the poet describe Chrysaid's beauty? The poet describes her as a matchless orb of angelic beauty and calls her a perfect heavenly being sent down to earth in his crown of nature. What does Troilus confess in his song? Troilus confessed that love exists powerfully in human heart, which so long he denies. Which countries does the knight visit for expedition? 15. How many? 15. In which language does the prioress speak? French. What art was the prioress taught well? While eating, she took great care that no morsel fell from her lips. What kind of books does the clerk like to read? The clerk likes to read the books of philosophy. Who is Pandarus? Pandarus is a close friend of Troilus and the uncle of Troilus. Who is Troilus? Troilus, the hero of the poem Troilus and Cresside, is the son of Priam, king of Troy and the great warrior next to Hector. How does Pandarus help in the love affair between Troilus and Cresside? Pandarus himself had failed in love, so he is the proper man to help him, as he will be able to advise him what is to avoid and what is to adopt in his affair. Why does Calchas feel guilty? Calchas feels guilty as he left Troy and joined the Greeks, abandoning his daughter Cresside. Who is Diomed? Diomed, the son of Tydeus and king of Argos, is a hero in the Trojan War, and he seeks Cresside's love and ultimately wins it. Who is Cassandra? Cassandra is a prophetess. She is the sister of Troilus. Who is Achilles? Achilles in Greek mythology is the son of the mortal Peleus and the divine sea nymph Thetis from Pythia in Thessaly. In Homer's Iliad, he is the leader of the Myrmidons and the chief Greek hero in the war against Troy. His anger drives the story of the Iliad forward. What is a mock heroic poem? Mock heroic poem is a kind of poem which is the stylistic imitation of heroic poem but deals with a trivial subject, especially in satirical tone. What is a call fox? A call fox is a variety of fox distinguished by a greater admixture of black in its fur. Call fox may mean a sly, treacherous fox. Who was Madame Partelote? Madame Partelote was the name of a hen. Chanticleer loved her intensely. How was the cock's color? The cock's color was like burnished gold. What is call fox? A call fox is a variety of fox distinguished by a greater admixture of black in its fur. Call fox may mean a sly, treacherous fox. What is a mock heroic poem? Mock heroic poem is a kind of poem which is the stylistic imitation of heroic poem but deals with a trivial subject, especially in satirical tone. Who was Calchas? Calchas was a divine of Apollo and father of Cresside. He left Troy secretly knowing from Apollo that Troy would be burnt, leaving Cresside at rift. What is a beast fable? The beast fable, usually a short story or poem in which animals talk, is a traditional form of allegorical writing. What is the name of the friar? The friar's name was Hubert. Who is Antenor? Antenor was one of the elders of Troy during the siege of the Greeks and in favor of restoring Helen to the Greeks. What is courtly love? Courtly love is a late medieval code of love. This love prescribed the highly conventionalized behavior and emotion of our aristocratic ladies and their lovers. What was the proposal of Harry Bailey? Harry Bailey proposed a storytelling contest. Each pilgrim will tell 2 stories on the way to Canterbury and 2 on the way back. and whoever tells the best story will be given a free meal. How old was the square? The square was about 20 years old. Why did people travel to Canterbury? People traveled to Canterbury in order to visit the shrine of the holy blessed martyr Saint Thomas Becket, who helped them to recover when they fell ill. What is a beast fable? The beast fable, usually a short story or poem in which animals talk, is a traditional form of allegorical writing. What type of writing is Troilus and Creside? Troy 1380 থেকে 1385. What is the name of the friar? The friar's name was Hubert. Why did people travel to Canterbury? People traveled to Canterbury in order to visit the shrine of the holy blessed martyr Saint Thomas Becket, who helped them to recover when they fell ill. Who is Pandarus? Pandarus is the close friend of Troilus and the uncle of Troilus. Who is the owner of Tabard Inn? Harry Bailey is the owner of the Tabard Inn. Name some of the religious personalities referred to in prologue to Canterbury Tales: the knight, the squire, the priories, the monk, the sergeant of law, etc. How many priests were under the control of the nun? 3 priests. Who is the father of Creside? Calchas is the father of Creside. How many pet animals did the widow have? The widow had 3 large female pigs, 3 cows, and 1 sheep. Why does Chaucer praise April? Chaucer praise April as it is the month of rebirth and renewal. To which century does Chaucer belong? Chaucer belongs to the 14th century. What is a pilgrimage? A pilgrimage is a religious journey undertaken for penance and grace. How many battles did the knight fight? The knight fought 15 mortal battles. What was the name of the priories? The priories was known as Madame Eglantine. Who was Helen? Helen, the most beautiful woman of ancient Greece, was the daughter of Zeus and Leda and Menelaus' wife, who was abducted by Paris, the second son of Priam, king of Troy. What is the masterpiece of Chaucer? The Canterbury Tales is a masterpiece of Chaucer. Who was Priam? Priam was the king of Troy. When Troy was captured, he was slain by Pyrrhus, the son of Achilles. What is a mock heroic poem? Mock heroic poem is a kind of poem which is a stylistic imitation of a heroic poem but deals with a trivial subject, especially in satirical tone. When did the 100-year war take place? The 100 Years' War started in 1338 and continued even after the century. What was Troy? Troy, a city-state of the ancient age, stood on the shore of the Aegean Sea in the northwest of modern Turkey. What does the Black Sea symbolize? The tumultuous despair which Troilus experienced in his love for Cressid symbolizes as the Black Sea. Why does Chaucer praise April? The poet praises the month of April because in this month, rain and warm western wind restore life and fertility to the earth and its inhabitants. What is Pagan? Pagan means the worshippers of the gods and goddess of the mythological past. Why does Chaucer praise April? Chaucer praises April as it is the month of rebirth and renewal. Why did people travel to Canterbury? They are going to the shrine of Saint Thomas Becket at Canterbury to receive special blessings. Who is the father of Cressid? Calchas is the father of Cressid. What is the function of summoner? The function of a summoner called offenders before the judge. What is the job of a reeve? A reeve was attached to a manor to supervise the produce and to keep the accounts. Who is Troilus? Troilus, the hero of the poem Troilus and Cressid, is the son of Priam, king of Troy and the great warriors next to Hector. What is a mock heroic poem? A mock heroic poem is a form of satire which is written in the style of an epic but deals with a trivial subject. What is the setting of Troilus and Cressid? It is set against a backdrop of war during the siege of Troy. How many pet animals did the widow have? Lagana. What is Canterbury courtly love? Courtly love is late medieval code of love. This love prescribed the highly conventionalized behavior and emotions of aristocratic ladies and their lovers. What is the name of the friar? The friar's name was Hubert. Who is the owner of the Tabard Inn? Harry Bailey is the owner of the Tabard Inn. What is a pilgrimage? A pilgrimage is a religious journey undertaken for penance and grace. What was the friar's name? The friar's name was Hubert. Who was the wife of Buck? She was a woman from Buck. What is the job of a pardoner? A pardoner is a trafficker in papal pardon or indulgences. Where did the widow live? The widow lived in a narrow cottage by the side of a grove of trees which stood in a valley. How was Chanticleer's bill? Chanticleer's bill was black and it shone like jet. What type of laugh did Troilus make? The type of medieval laugh Troilus made. What was Troy? Troy, a city-state of the ancient age, stood on the against a backdrop of war during the siege of Troy. How many pet animals did the widow have? Lagana. What is Canterbury courtly love? Courtly love is late medieval code of love. This love prescribed the highly conventionalized behavior and emotions of aristocratic ladies and their lovers. What is the name of the friar? The friar's name was Hubert. Who is the owner of the Tabard Inn? Harry Bailey is the owner of the Tabard Inn. What is a pilgrimage? A pilgrimage is a religious journey undertaken for penance and grace. What was the friar's name? The friar's name was Hubert. Who was the wife of Buck? She was a woman from Buck. What is the job of a pardoner? A pardoner is a trafficker in papal pardon or indulgences. Where did the widow live? The widow lived in a narrow cottage by the side of a grove of trees, which stood in a valley. How was Chanticleer's bill? Chanticleer's bill was black and it shone like jet. What type of laugh did Troilus make? The type of medieval laugh Troilus made. What was Troy? Troy, a city-state of the ancient age, stood on the shore of the Aegean Sea in the northwest of the modern Turkey. Who was Cato? Cato was a Roman statesman and historian. His full name was Marcus Porcius Cato. How does the poet describe Chrysaid's beauty? The poet describes her as a matchless woman of angelic beauty and calls her a perfect heavenly being sent down to earth in scorn of nature. Who was Iscariot? Iscariot refers to Judas Iscariot who betrayed Jesus Christ with a kiss. What is a coal fox? A coal fox is a variety of fox distinguished by a greater admixture of black in its fur. Coal fox may mean a slight treacherous fox. Lalmatia Mohila College. What is a mock epic? Mock epic is an epic which is written with the grand styles of epic dealing with a trivial subject matter. What is a beast fable? What does the host of Tabard Inn propose to pass the time? The host of Tabard Inn proposed a storytelling contest. Each pilgrim will tell 2 stories on the way to Canterbury and 2 on the way back, and whoever tells the best story will be given a free meal. Who is the father of Chrysaid? Calchas is the father of Chrysaid. What is the setting of Troilus and Chrysaid? It is set against a backdrop of war during siege of Troy. How many pet animals like Penna? Why does Chaucer praise April like Penna? Why did people travel Canterbury? People traveled to Canterbury in order to visit the shrine of the holy blessed martyr Saint Thomas Becket, who helped them to recover when they fell ill. Where did the pilgrims? The pilgrims assembled at Tabard Inn, which is situated in South Wark. What is the job of a reeve? A reeve was attached to a manor to supervise the produce and to keep the accounts. Which incident is the nun-priest's tale based on? The nun-priest's tale is based on the familiar incident of the cock who was seized by a fox and who made his escape by inducing his captor to open his mouth in speech. Why is called as the father of English poetry? Chaucer is called the father of English poetry because of his significant contribution to English literature. He freed English poetry from the medieval tradition and made it modern. He enlarged the scope of poetry, introduced reality of life and excelled in characterization, humor, pathos, and above all gave a new form and shape to English language. Why is the 14th century called the turbulent century? Throughout the 14th century, devastating wars took place among the nations of Europe, especially between England and France, for which this century is called a turbulent century. How does the poet describe Chrysaid's beauty? The poet described her as a matchless woman of angelic beauty and calls her a perfect heavenly being sent down to earth in scorn of nature. Mentions some good qualities of the farrier. Though the friar was actually a cheat, he possessed some good qualities. He could sing ballads in a sweet voice and he could play upon the fiddle excellently. Why is Chaucer called the first national poet? As the foundation of Chaucer's art lies in English life and English character, he is called the first national poet. What was the name of the prioress? The prioress was known as Madame Eglantine. Who was Cato? Cato was a Roman statesman and historian. His full name was Marcus Porcius Cato. Who are the ecclesiastical character in the prologue? They are the prioress, the monk, the friar, the clerk, the person, and the summoner. What does the Black Sea symbolize? The tumultuous despair which Troilus experienced in his love for Chrysaid symbolizes as the Black Sea. How is the knight dressed? The knight is dressed in a fustian tunic which is stained by the rust from his coat of chain mail. What is meant by the double sorrow of Troilus? Troilus suffered twice for the love of Chrysaid. First to win her love and secondly after her departure from Troy when she forsook him. What was the occupation of the wife of Bath? The wife of Bath was an expert in weaving cloth. What is a mock epic? Mock epic is an epic which is written with a grand style of epic dealing with a trivial subject matter. Where did the pilgrims assemble? The pilgrims assembled at Tabard Inn, which is situated in Southwark. Who are Troilus and Chrysaid? Troilus, son of King Priam, is the hero, and Chrysaid, daughter of Calchas, is the heroine of the poem Troilus and Chrysaid. What is function of a yeoman? A yeoman was an attendant in a noble household. In military context, yeoman was the rank of the third order of fighting men, below knights and squires. What is the speciality of fortune? The whole of fortune must always be turning, bringing either joy or sorrow. If at any time the wheels of fortune cease to move, it ceases to be fortune. To which Canterbury does Chaucer belong? Chaucer belongs to the 14th century. Who told the nun's priest to tell a story? The host, whose name was Harry Bailey, asked the nun's priest to tell a story. He called the priest Sir John. What was the friar's name? The friar's name was Hubert. What was the name of the prioress? The prioress was known as Madame Eglantine. Why is Chaucer called the first national poet? As the foundation of Chaucer's art lies in English life and English character, he is called the first national poet. Why did people travel to Canterbury? People traveled to Canterbury in order to visit the shrine of the holy blessed martyr Saint Thomas Becket, who helped them to recover when they fell ill. What is the sergeant of law? The sergeant of law was a judge at the season of the law courts. What is the Canterbury Tales? The Canterbury Tales is a collection of stories strung around the central idea of a pilgrimage from London to the shrine of Saint Thomas Becket at Canterbury. What is pilgrimage? A pilgrimage is a religious journey undertaken for penance and grace. How old was the squire? The squire was about 20 years old. Why does Chaucer praise April? Chaucer praises April as it is the month of rebirth and renewal. Whom did the host call to draw his lot first? The host called the knight to come and draw his lot first of all. How was Chanticleer's bill? Chanticleer's bill was black and it shone like jet. Who was Cato? Cato was a Roman statesman and historian. His full name was Marcus Proclus Cato. Who was the cock's collar? How was the cock's collar? The cock's collar was like burnished gold. Who is Mars? Mars is the son of Jove, is the god of war in Greek and Roman mythology. Why is Chaucer regarded as a realistic poet? Because it was Chaucer who for the first time brought man and woman of flesh and blood in the arena of literature. What does vice according to Pandarus? To mistrust everyone or to believe everyone is a vice. How will Troilus avenge his sorrow? As Troilus is gentle and tender-hearted, that he will avenge his sorrow not with anything else but death. What is pagan? Pagans means the worshippers of the gods and goddess of the mythical past. What is pilgrimage? A pilgrimage is a religious journey undertaken for penance and grace. What was the friar's name? The friar's name was Hubert. Mentions some good qualities of the friar. Though the friar was actually cheat, he possessed some good qualities. He could sing ballads in a sweet voice and he could play upon the fiddle excellently. How do you call the prologue a portrait gallery? All levels of contemporary English life are portrayed in the prologue. Why is Troilus and Cressida called the first novel in English? Troilus and Cressida is a representation of life through a story. There are plots, characters, action and climax in the writing. Who are the ecclesiastical characters in the prologue? They are the priest, the monk, the friar, the clerk, the person and the summoner. What moral lessons does Chanticleer utter? Chanticleer utters the following moral lessons. Anyone who willfully shuts his eyes when he ought to keep them wide open will be forsaken by God. What is pagan? Pagan means the worshipper of the gods and goddess of the mythological past. Who was the wife Bath? She was a woman from Bath. Where did the pilgrims assemble? The pilgrims assembled at Tabard Inn, which is situated in Southwark. What is meant by the double sorrow of Troilus? Troilus suffered twice for the love of Cressida. First to win her love and secondly after her departure from Troy when she forsook whom? How many battles did the knight fight? The knight fought 15 mortal battles. What is the Canterbury Tales? The Canterbury Tales is a collection of stories strung around the central idea of a pilgrimage from London to the shrine of Saint Thomas Becket at Canterbury. Write about 5 guildsmen. The guildsmen were the haberdasher, the carpenter, the weaver, the dyer, and the arras marker. Who is the owner of Tabard Inn? And Harry Bailey is the owner of the Tabard Inn. Why did Chanticleer pray to God? Chanticleer prayed to God to make his dream have a good meaning and to keep his body out of foul prison. What did Chanticleer dream? Chanticleer dreamed that an animal looking like a dog was trying to seize him and put him to death. What does the Black Sea symbolizes? The tumultuous despair which Troilus experienced in his love for Cressida symbolizes as the Black Sea. What is vice according to Pandarus? To mistrust everyone or to believe everyone is a vice. How does the poet describe Cressida's beauty? The poet describes her as a matchless woman of angelic beauty and calls her a perfect heavenly being sent down to earth in scorn of nature. Who is Penelope? Penelope, wife of Odysseus, king of Ithaca and a veteran of the Trojan War, is most remarkable for her allegiance to her husband because she remained faithful to him for long 20 years, facing serious troubles. Why Chaucer is called the first national poet? As the foundation of Chaucer's art lies in English life and English character, he is called the first national poet. Which incident is the Nun's Priest tale based on? The Nun's Priest tale is based on an incident in the Reynard cycle. What is pagan? Pagans means the worshipper of the gods and goddesses of the mythological past. What is a mock heroic poem? A mock heroic poem is a form of satire which is written in the style of an epic but deals with trivial subject. What kind of man was the knight? The knight was a professional soldier, gentleman, and idealist. What is the function of a summoner? The function of a summoner called offenders before the judge. What is a haberdasher? A haberdasher is a dealer of all sorts of small goods. What is the trick by which the fox caught the cock? The fox catches Chanticleer by means of flattery. The fox praises his sweet voice and requests him to sing for him. When Chanticleer, standing on his toes, closes his eyes to sing, the fox catches him by the throat. What did Partelot advise Chanticleer to take? Partelot advised Chanticleer to take a laxative that could cure himself of choler and melancholy. What is the name of the friar? The friar's name was
Parts of speech. Part অর্থ অংশ এবং স্পিচ অর্থ বাক্য বা কথা। বাক্যে ব্যবহৃত প্রত্যেকটি শব্দই এক একটি পার্টস অফ স্পিচ। একই শব্দ বাক্যে ব্যবহার ভেদে